their games, and I loved how matter-of-fact he was about just ripping bodies apart and using their strands and building something new. And you know, just for the greater good. He really had no emotion about it at all. That was kind of fun to do. It was evil and not at the same time. But it was one of those things where I just auditioned for it, and they were stupid enough to give me the job. Yeah, I love that. Now I would love to see turn into a series, the Avatar show. I think it'd be big old ugly slug who talks like spits when he speaks.
Like everybody in this room is a Bebop fan, and I was wanting to know how exactly you got the role of Spike.
Auditioned for it. It was pretty early on. I auditioned for that. I had done a lot of shows for a lot of those people who eventually were working on Cowboy Bebop. A lot of those people had worked on shows as early as The Guyver. We did Orgus. We did Wolf's Rain around that time. There were a ton of shows that I'd done for those guys, and so I was kind of high on the list, at least to audition for it. Again, I was very surprised that they gave that to me. That was my first leading role, and I was terrified the entire time. I talk about this a lot with my girlfriend now, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who was the director of that show, and she played Julia on the show. And that was her first directing job, too. And she was terrified, couldn't believe she got that. But this was a company that gave people chances in the very beginning, and we're so grateful to them. Itaka Maseba and Kevin Seymour were these guys who just had these visions on these shows, and they really wanted to bring anime to an American audience and make it palatable for an American audience. They wanted to take the time and do these shows right. In the early days of my recording experience, people hated that we were doing dubs. I would go to conventions and I would have my life threatened.
Holy shit!
No, literally, yeah. The first convention I did, I had my life threatened, and I had to change my phone number, my email address, and everything. It was pretty scary back then. So they saw a bigger picture. They saw that we could actually appeal to a much wider audience that really would otherwise not be exposed to anime, and that was the intention behind that. And it worked out really well. That company went on to make a lot of really, really great things. They did Ghost in the Shell and tons of other really, really great anime. So very grateful for that. And the side note to that is Mary, who we were very good friends back then, have been friends for 17 years. Just our relationships made way so that we became a couple 2 years ago. So Spike and Julia are actually together now. The anime keeps on living, man. Bebop, the show that never stops giving.
Speaking of how some of your roles are hard to do physically, which of your roles was like the most demanding for you?
Physically? Wolverine's definitely way up there. Anything where I have to scream. Kazuma from Escariet was painful, really painful. He was screaming the whole time. Tank Dempsey from Call of Duty, you can get there. For pretty much any time I'm playing a soldier or a big creature, it's pretty rough. There are a lot of creatures that I played on Digimon, a lot of creatures that I play in video games, that it's just all pain all the time. They bring me in because I'm really good at dying. Yeah. So there's a lot of video games that I've been brought in just because I can vomit and belch on mic. or take a knife to the throat and make it sound really bloody. You know, that's just one of the things I'm good at. So anytime I have to do that, it hurts, but there's something sort of satisfying to it too.
Huge fan of Cowboy Bebop. Now, has the show ended? You think they would have left it? They actually left it open? If Spike survived or not?
I believe that. Yeah, Spike's been through a lot before. He's been shot up. Yeah, Spike's still alive. As far as I'd say here.
The Lord hath spoken.
Yeah, well, even Watanabe-san has changed his mind on that issue many times. He first said that Spike was dead, then he said that he left it open to the audience interpretation. And then I think as recently as about a year ago, he said, no, Spike is still alive. So he certainly is for me. I'm living with Julia.
Tsubasacon, their final boss, and Street Fighter and Bison. I had Digimon Rumble Arena back in the day, and Reapermon. Do you remember playing Reapermon?
No. The question was, do I remember playing Reapermon? I don't actually.
Oh, really?
Was he from season 4?
No, it was just exclusive.
Video
to that
game
game.
role.
Exclusive to that game. I don't know. What did he sound like?
Like
Real
death.
low, one of your low voices, kind of.
Was he garbly?
Yeah, pretty dark. I remember.
That kind of thing?
No, not
No. Reapermon. Something like down there. I don't know. I don't know. It's probably one of those things where I walked in the booth and they said, okay, play this, go. On to the next character. So, yeah, there's so many of those, especially in games. You said this is a game?
Yeah.
Yeah, in video games, we generally do a minimum of 3 voices. And so even if I got hired for one voice, I don't know what the other 2 are going to be until I walk into the room.
So you got, let's see, you did Blackboard Greymon and that, and Yomon and Yalamon, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So those are the ones from the show. So I was probably hired for that. And they said, well, while you're here, if you have a deep voice, do this.
Final boss, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad it didn't suck.
Oh, it's great.
Okay, good.
Yes, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
So, last year there was a voice actor who said that during his work week on a Friday, he was doing like a head voice kind of type thing, and he also had a job on Wednesday. They didn't tell him on Wednesday that he had to do a lot of screaming and shouting, and so he was very incapable of doing his job on Friday. Do you ever run into schedule conflicts like that?
All the time. All the time. We never know what we're walking into when we go into a room, and especially in gaming, they'll give us what they call a sound set at the end of the game, where it's all of the efforts, the punches, the kicks, the deaths, all that stuff. And I always try to get a script in advance, so I sort of know what's coming, but they lie. They lie so bad. And they don't tell you that, you know, for each one of those things, it'll say, okay, you're going to be doing 5 hits, but what they don't say is that they want 15 interpretations of each one of those 5 hits. And that's the very beginning, then you just go down the list. So it happens all the time. So at this point in my career, I've been able to limit my sessions to 2 hours if I know there's going to be anything stressful. And for the new video game contract that's coming up, we're actually in negotiations now to try to get the 4-hour sessions limited to 2 hours if there is going to be vocally stressful things.
What game?
For all games. Yeah, this is a negotiation that we're in right now for the new video game contract, and the producers are fighting it because they need to get what they need to get for the games, and they've got limited budgets, and I understand that, but I've seen people who have literally blown themselves out, not just for a couple days, but for weeks or months at a time, and in some cases permanent damage. We just did a panel 4 nights ago at Screen Actors Guild about vocal stress, where we brought in throat doctors, and they actually showed video, really gross video of the vocal cords and the damage that we cause to our vocal cords when we're doing this work, and how long that process is of healing. So we're trying to do something about it now, but you never know. And it's happened many, many times where I've just been completely blown out. It used to happen on Digimon all the time. Is I would be in for something like Blackboard Greymon or one of these characters that, you know, is big and yells and fights. And then I would have to do JP or Kenta, who is even higher. Or Goromon. And there would be nothing left. I'd go in to do Goromon. And it would come out, Goromon. There'd be nothing left. So you gotta be really, really careful. And especially in the beginning for you new voice actors, be really, really careful not to take jobs where they're gonna have you scream for 8 hours, because they will try to get you to do that. And just don't. Don't be afraid to say, it hurts, I gotta stop. And even if that kills it for that job, good. You don't want to be working with those people anyway, because anybody who really cares about you is not gonna hurt you.
And then you were, yes, in the back.
Do you have any characters that, like, even among your legions of fans, like the legions of people that you talk to, have a very small cult following, like maybe 1, maybe 2 people have recognized you and talked to you about it?
Yeah, there are quite a few of those characters. Usually I don't remember what the characters' names are. I come up to my signing table with some really obscure DVD or even a VHS in some cases of things that I've done, and I have no recollection. Like Goku was one of those great examples. I had forgotten that I had done Goku. I didn't even know what it was at the time. And people bring that stuff up all the time. There's something, is it real about something about
Dragon Ball GT Final Bout.
Final. Oh, okay. Is that the same game?
Were you
No.
talking about a show or a game?
It was a show.
Were you about high school?
That might have been it. Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, I think
I remember that!
I think I played a character in that, or somebody brought a copy of that up, and I could not even remember working on it. It was crazy. So there's a ton of them, and doing this for almost 30 years, I've done thousands and thousands of different characters, and I just don't remember. And some people at conventions, it's sort of been a thing the last few conventions I've gone to, where people bring up a pile of the most obscure stuff they can find from their collections, just to see if they can trick me. Usually they can. I have to. Oh, go on.
Kind of a question within that question. You ever get recognized for the game Bulletstorm?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, there's almost nothing from that game that I can say in this room because I think it's a PG. Yeah, we made up dirty words for that whole game. It was so much fun. The best part of that game for me was a little campaign that we did online to entice people to buy the game, and it was basically insulting people. So, get up off your mom's couch and buy this thing. Take money out of her purse. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was so much fun. Thank you.
This is the last question for this session, so the yellow shirt.
Hey.
What was the best thing about working with all the guys over at Toonami?
Oh man, well it's a lot of the same guys that are still working there now, except for Sean Akins, he was the only one that left. They're family to me. The weirdest thing about it was that working with them for all of those years, I hadn't met most of them. It was all over the phone. Because I live in LA, they live in Atlanta, and all of our sessions were over the phone. I met a couple of them, Jason and Gil, because they would come back and forth and we would see each other. We'd seen each other maybe 2 or 3 times until recently. Now we've got to see each other quite a bit. But most of the people there I hadn't met, all the editors that have been doing this all these years.